It's a busy time of year for us flower farmers. We're still cutting flowers, clearing out spent crops, deadheading, weeding and preparing beds. But one thing we need to make sure of is that we stay on top of our succession sowings of annuals. Back in July, I made a video about some last minute, quick growing annuals that you could sow to get a final crop before the end of the season. But the plants I'm sowing today have different life cycles, which allows us to overwinter them, ready to flower early next summer, just when you might be in a pinch for flowers. The clue is in the name. Hardy annuals can tolerate cool temperatures. And actually, not just tolerate, but some depend on them. They are capable of withstanding light frosts and flowering as soon as things start warming up in late spring, early summer, completing their life cycle within 1 year. These plants flower at an important time for us flower farmers, when the spring flowers are over and we're still waiting for summer flowers to get started. These flowers fill the gap to ensure flowers all season long. The timing of sowing hardy annuals depends on your first frost dates, something which I cover in my Growing Cut Flowers online course. Find out more by clicking the link in the description. Ideally, you want your hardy annuals to be in the ground around 6 weeks before your first frost to give them time to establish in the ground. Planted any later and they may flower before the end of the season, which signals the end of the life cycle. Planted any later and they won't perform well outdoors over winter. So, let's get into my 5 favourite flowers for autumn sowing. Corncockle is a delicate looking flower that throws out lots of stems in early summer. It's a wildflower that's now commonplace in cottage gardens and flower farms. It comes in white or magenta, but personally I found the white much more usable. To grow this hugely productive plant, all you need to do is fill a tray with good quality seed compost. Don't forget, I always recommend adding biology at this stage through a living compost such as homemade compost or worm castings. Dampen the compost using rainwater or chlorinated water if you're using living composts, and pop in a couple of seeds per cell. Cover the seeds with more compost or vermiculite and germinate them at 18 to 21 degrees Celsius, or alternatively you can direct sow them in the ground. Once the plants are big enough, plant them out at 9-inch spacing and leave them until spring. You might want to provide them with some plant support netting as they can get tall and blown over by the wind. You'll probably find that corncockle does better in cooler summers. When it comes to harvest, pick them when there are 1 to 2 flowers open on the stem. I made a whole video about cutting on conditioning flowers, which explains how you need to reduce the core temperature of your cut flowers to get maximum vase life. Watch that video for lots of useful tips on cutting and conditioning. Find the link in the description. Next is a flower that I love to have in early summer. I've mentioned a few times here on the channel about the roles that different flowers play in bouquets, and spike flowers are essential to giving bouquets some dimension. Larkspur comes in many different cultivars and colours, which allows you to grow the right variety based on your style. It comes in white, pink, dusky purple and blue, and neat upright spikes as well as cloud-like forms. Larkspur can be tricky to get right, but follow these steps and you'll be harvesting armfuls next summer. The most important thing to know about larkspur is it really does love cool temperatures. It won't germinate well above 13 degrees Celsius, so consider holding off sowing it if we get an Indian summer. You could also try chilling the seed between 1 and 4 degrees Celsius for a couple of weeks before sowing to encourage germination. Once the seedlings emerge, keep them below 12 degrees Celsius. They need this period of vernalization to encourage rosetting and stem elongation for flowering. Once they're big enough, plant them out at 12-inch spacing, and as with the corncockle, it's recommended to provide plant support netting as the tall stems can be susceptible to the wind. Harvest larkspur when 1/3 of the flowers are open on the stem, or wait until the flowers are mostly open for dried flower harvesting. Expect larkspur to last 6 to 8 days in the vase. Here's a quick tip that I love to do before planting out, which helps to create healthier plants that are more pest and disease resistant and are able to cope with stresses like transplanting, drought and heat. I make a soil drench out of natural biostimulants such as liquid seaweed, humic acid and a handful of living compost such as worm castings. I'm careful to use rainwater or tap water that's been dechlorinated. I put this into a shallow tray and sit my seedlings in it to allow them to take up all of the plant growth stimulants, nutrients and hormones that are going to benefit them. After a while, the plants are hydrated and prepared for what life in the field has to throw at them. As well as using natural products on the flower farm, I also opt to use natural products in my personal life too. And that is why I've partnered with Wild for this week's video. Wild make natural, refillable and plastic-free deodorants. And they've given me a 20% discount code to pass on to you guys so that you can use it to get discount on all of the products on their website. I've recently started using their new refillable roll-on deodorant, which comes in this beautiful aluminium case and is refilled with plastic-free compostable refills. I'm using the cotton and sea salt scent at the moment, which is absolutely gorgeous, and it's just what you need when you've been working hard on the farm all day. The other thing that's great about it is super easy to refill. The cases come in the loveliest designs, such as these limited edition Cath Kidston cases that can also be engraved so that you know it's going to be yours forever. Wild deodorants can be used with a clear conscience, as they have already saved over 200 tonnes of plastic from landfill, and they plant a tree with every purchase that you make. Click the link in my description, scan the QR code on screen, or use the code BLOOM at checkout to get your 20% discount. However, be aware that this is only available for a limited time only. Now let's get back to sowing our cut flower seeds for the 2026 season. Snapdragons make good cut flowers because of their distinctive spike-shaped appearance, which adds a unique element to floral design, creating interest and depth in arrangements. They overwinter particularly well to produce nice strong stems in summer. Germinate the tiny seeds at 21 degrees Celsius, but give them cooler temperatures for growing on. Providing too much warmth will encourage quicker flowers, but on thinner, weaker stems. Once they're big enough, plant them at 9-inch spacing. And make sure to pinch them to encourage more flowers, and be on the lookout for problems like rust. It's hard to prevent once you have it, but try to give plants space and feed them well to give them the best chance. There are also some rust-resistant varieties you can try. Harvest snapdragons when a third of the flowers are open on the stem and expect them to last 5 to 8 days in the vase. There's a couple of other things that you need to know about conditioning snapdragons, which I cover in another video all about snapdragons, so check out the link in the description if you want to learn more. Ammi is a beautiful lacy filler flower that adds a frothy look to flower arrangements. Not only does it work well as a cut flower, this umbellifer also supports a multitude of beneficial insects, something I've spoken about a lot on my channel as a way of tackling pests. I've used this beautiful flower on its own in arrangements like this before, and it always looks really effective. Like many of the flowers I mention in this video, Ammi also thrives in cooler weather. The seed can be chilled at 5 to 8 degrees Celsius for a couple of weeks before sowing to encourage germination. They also like cool weather for establishment and do not perform well over 30 degrees Celsius. In USDA zones 8 to 10, they're best treated as a winter crop only. Once the seedlings have emerged and become large enough for planting, put them out at 12-inch spacing. They become large, tall plants, so provide them with support to avoid wind damage. The trick to harvesting Ammi is to wait until 80% of the flowers on the umbel are open. Any earlier than this and the plant will struggle to take up water and wilt. Contrastingly, it's too late to pick when the pollen starts falling from the flowers and vase life will be reduced. Expect 5 to 8 days vase life. If you want more delicate Ammi, choose Ammi majus over Ammi visnaga. Scabiosa is a perfect dainty flower to add detail and a touch of colour to arrangements. It prefers cooler temperatures, making it perfect for autumn sowing and overwintering. My favourite variety is Oxford Blue, which adds a pop of contrasting colour to arrangements. Sow the seeds in a cell tray at 18 to 21 degrees Celsius and don't cover the seed, or just cover it very lightly as it requires light for germination. Once the seedlings have emerged, keep them at around 12 degrees Celsius. As with the snapdragons, warmer temperatures will encourage growth but on weaker stems, so keeping them cool will ensure strong stems that are more valuable. Once large enough, plant them at 9-inch spacing. You can pinch the plants back to 4 or 5 sets of leaves to encourage branching and more stems. Harvest the flowers when they're almost fully open and expect them to last 5 to 7 days in the vase. So there we have it, 5 wonderful cut flowers that you can sow now to ensure you have a strong harvest of cut flowers early next summer.
I love growing overwintered hardy annuals because they always seem to be so much stronger and they produce really good quality cut flowers come early summer. So that is a bonus to me and a bonus to my customers too. It's also really great to keep an eye on their growth over winter and into spring. It's so exciting to see their stems elongating as the days get longer and warmer, and you can really get in tune with your plants and with the seasons that way. I hope you got some useful tips and tricks out of this video and you've been inspired to sow your own hardy annuals at the end of this growing season. If you enjoyed it, then don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't. My goal is to reach 50,000 subscribers by the end of the summer, and I'm almost there at 48,000 subscribers. So thank you to all of you who have subscribed, and don't forget to click that button if you haven't. You'll be notified when I release new videos. Speaking of new videos, I've been working on my UK farm tour videos this summer, and I've already visited some great flower farmers, and I've published a couple of videos recently. I visited Eddie Bailey, soil expert from Rhizophilia recently, and he gave us loads of really great information on soil health. And last week I published my video with Georgie Newbury, and she gave us lots and lots of great tips about running a small business. There's a couple more interviews in the pipeline, and I'm looking forward to visiting a couple more farms before the season is finished. So thank you again for watching this video, and I will see you again on the next one.